Migrant apprehensions at the southern border are skyrocketing, reaching over 200, almost 30,000 during the month of September, with little to no action from the Biden administration. And we don't even know, God only knows how many gotaways and possible terrorists also coming in. Republican leaders looking for an alternate solution. Let's head over to border correspondent Jaeson Jones. There he is right there, live in Austin, Texas. Jaeson, tell us what's going on there.
Guys, good morning. CBP last night released the final numbers for fiscal year 22, putting us at a record-setting 2.37 million apprehensions at the southwest border. Of those gotaways you just mentioned, we know that 599,000 this year were documented by Border Patrol agents as they were able to make it into this country. So we're seeing unprecedented numbers that we have ever seen since 1960 cross that border. And just one last thing on the data here. 98 known terrorists were across that border between the ports of entry. Guys, I've been working that border a long time. I remember when on average it was 2 to 3 crossing between the ports of entry. But let's not talk data. Let me show you what's really taking place. Look at this video. This is an exclusive video we got from law enforcement officers operating in Roma, Texas, night before last. Listen to this gunfire. That gunfire is coming from Miguel Alemán as Cartel del Noreste and Cartel del Golfo, also known as CDG, were battling for control of that territory, Miguel Alemán. So when you hear from DHS Secretary Mayorkas that your border is safe and your border is secure, I want to be very clear. Based on the data from the government and from the videos we show you day in, day out, your border is not safe and your border is not secure.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jaeson Jones, for all that information. Stay safe out there. Well, I want to keep this conversation going and bring in Staff Lieutenant of the Texas Highway Patrol, Christopher Olivarez. Over 227,000 migrant encounters during the month of September alone. We just heard from Jaeson Jones that numbers are skyrocketing. I heard another statistic, 5 million so far since Biden has been in office. Do you expect these numbers to only get worse?
Well, good morning. And they are. I mean, of course, they're going to get worse. So you just heard it right there from Jaeson. And it's kind of, you know, we talk about the transparency from the federal government, but yet late yesterday evening, they released the September numbers, which Jaeson just talked about that, you know, over 227,000 encounters for September, a record high in our history. But when you take into account the numbers from fiscal year 21 and 22, as far as encounters, 1.7 million for fiscal year 21, 2.3 million for fiscal year 22, that you have close to 1 million gotaways. If you combine both fiscal years, that's close to 5 million people that have come across that border illegally into our country, but yet the federal government continues to have this message that the border is secured and that they have operational control. Well, if we take the encounters out of the picture, let's talk about the fentanyl that's coming across our border. A record number high of fentanyl, people that are dying every single day because of fentanyl poisoning, but yet the federal government has failed to neglect the American people and have failed to address this situation and actually go after these criminal organizations, the cartels, and designate them for what they are, as foreign terrorist organizations.
Yeah, well, I know we still have Jaeson Jones with us. I want to bring him back in on this. But Congressman Dave Schweikart, he basically said what a lot of Republicans have been saying out loud on what they thought was a hidden tape or a hidden recording. And Democrats released this saying like, oh my gosh, this guy is so bad. Take a listen to this.
I have a couple other ones I want to impeach first. Mayorkas.
And he's going to start painting horns in the tail on me. You've seen the commercials.
Chris Ray's got number 3 for me.
So Mayorkas and then who?
The Secretary of State.
Yeah, he's talking about impeaching people who haven't done their job, specifically, you know, DHS that has just left this border wide open. I mean, Jaeson, is this that bad?
It is that bad. And I can tell you as somebody that has worked that border both in El Paso, in Brownsville, and in Laredo, Texas, leading programs, we have never seen it the way it is right now. And it's not a perception or a feeling. The government's own data is showing the American people. And by the way, anyone watching right now, you can go to U.S. Customs and Border Protection website, and it's all right there for you to see. So never mind what you're seeing in the data. I mean, Carl, when we talk about what we're seeing when we're down there with these gun battles from these cartels and how open the border is, as Lieutenant Olivarez is just talking about, I can tell you guys, he's spot on.
But Jaeson, you think it's bad? You think that this rises to impeachment levels for a Secretary of DHS?
Yes. Absolutely, without any hesitation. Here's why. The Homeland Security Secretary's job and those in all of local, state, and federal law enforcement's job, they are to be beyond partisan. They are not to be about left or right. Their job is to tell the American people the truth and what is really happening. And when you come on the national stage and you repeatedly lie to the American people against your own data and what we're seeing down there, and then you don't let media ride with the federal law enforcement officers to illuminate what's happening, and we have to go down and ride with Governor Abbott's Operation Lone Star to show the American people what's really happening, that's where the real problem is, and he absolutely needs to be removed from his position.
The people in Martha's Vineyard, they were up in an uproar, right, because of 48 migrants that showed up. And then you had border czar Kamala Harris. She wouldn't go to the border, so then they brought the border to her. And there was this, oh, my God, in New York City, they're bringing in people. And meanwhile, these border towns are completely overwhelmed. Lieutenant Democratic Mayor Oscar Lesser of El Paso, Texas, he told an El Paso council member that the White House said not to declare a state of emergency. Of course, the White House said that's not the case. We didn't say that. I mean, at this point, what are they supposed to do? Their populations are doubling almost every single day.
Well, I mean, they are, and especially there in the Del Rio sector. I mean, you're talking about smaller border communities, which they have a population of 15, 20,000 in those small cities. That's why Governor Abbott launched that bus initiative to bus some of these immigrants and to alleviate that flow of mass migration in those smaller cities. But yet, Governor Abbott was receiving all the criticism, but yet El Paso was busing triple the time, triple more the numbers than we were doing, but yet there was no criticism on their part, yet they're doing the exact same thing. But yet the federal government also, in addition to that, was also busing and flying immigrants from the very beginning, and yet we don't know where these immigrants are at. So we have to do our part because the federal government is not helping us as far as we're not receiving any federal funding for what we're doing as far as Operation Lone Star, all the border operations that we're doing. Everything that we are doing is state funded, so we have to do our part to try to protect our citizens here in Texas, but also protect the entire country because our men and women of DPS are at the front lines working with these border agents, trying to stop the criminals that are coming across, the gotaways, the drugs that are coming across our ports of entry. So it's very important that we're out there, very important that Governor Abbott launched Operation Lone Star, but it's all going to fall back into what the federal government is failing to do, and that is to secure the border. That is our primary responsibility.
It seems like you either have a border or you don't. I mean, I'm not like an overt strategist on this. It just seems like don't let people in unless we know who we're letting in.
I mean, this country was founded on immigrants, so I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for immigration. But we have to have an orderly process. It's not fair to them either.
Right,
and the children.
As Trump said, big beautiful door in that wall. Jaeson Jones, Christopher Olivarez, stay safe down there.
Good to be with you.